One Less God. It's a movie that really blew me away. No pun intended. Okay, maybe just a little bit intended.
जी भाईजान.
So One Less God is a little Australian indie film shot on a surprisingly small budget. You'll find out why I say it's surprising over the course of this review. Now, because of that small budget, it didn't get the exposure and the attention that it deserves. So this is me doing my part to help with that, and there are going to be some more screenings towards the end of this month, so make sure you catch it if you can. So I had the pleasure of attending the Sydney red carpet premiere of this movie with my good friend Kabir Singh, who plays one of the lead roles. Coincidentally, there will be an interview with him at the end of this video, and I'll put a timestamp here if you want to jump straight to that. Now, I also had the honor of meeting the director, Lliam Worthington, and the rest of the cast too, which was a really cool experience. Now, this movie is based on the true events of the 2008 Mumbai terrorist attacks at the Taj Hotel. Now, because it is based on true events, usually movies like this don't really have much room to maneuver to surprise the audience. That being said, this movie surprised me. Now, in contrast to its explosive nature, this movie didn't really start with a bang, more of a slow burn. Just like simmering food allows it to be infused with more flavor, the simmering at the start of this movie allowed the characters to be imbued with more character. It allowed us to get to know them and start to care for them, which is essential considering the content of this movie. That being said, there were certain dialogue choices towards the start of the film that could have been scripted and delivered a little bit better, but it didn't really impinge on the rest of the movie that much, so that's okay. Aside from that, the rest of the acting was top-notch across the board, especially by Kabir Singh, who brought nuanced notes of humanity to a terrorist, which is not something you usually see. Now, I may be plugging him quite a bit, but that's what friends do, and more importantly, he actually really deserves it. You'll have to watch the movie and see for yourself. Now, back to the direction and cinematography, everything looked really beautiful and crisp and vivid. Now, the CGI could have looked a bit better, but considering the small budget, it did really well, so I can definitely overlook and forgive that, considering how good the rest of the film was. Besides, good graphics don't necessarily make for a good movie, or game for that matter. I mean, just look at the recent Transformers abominations. The sound design was also very effective in providing that visceral experience. Now, this movie isn't the first time that I've heard the expression, one less God. Now, cross-culturally and across time, there have been thousands of gods out there in the cosmos, allegedly. Now, Ricky Gervais, who's a very renowned atheist, once said that the difference between an atheist and a monotheist is that an atheist just believes in one less God, which I think is food for thought. Now, this movie, despite its title, actually has nothing to do with religion as far as I could tell. In fact, it's more about humanity, the best parts and the worst. It was about human connection. And with that, I'm going to give a shout out to Igor Kreyman, who's also a friend of mine who's acted in this movie and did an excellent job, and who is the founder of the Human Connection movement, which has now gone global. This movie actually had substance and a very deep and meaningful message, which you don't usually see these days. It said that when the darkest, deepest, most malevolent sides of humanity enter into the fray, usually the best parts of humanity band together to support each other. And this movie showed that quite well. It also showed that love is extremely powerful and that it's the natural state of humankind. Hatred is artificial and learned upon birth, and it doesn't really compare to love. It can't compete with it because love and good will eventually always triumph over hatred and evil. So this movie had great directing, cinematography and sound design. It had great casting and acting for the most part. It had a great retelling of a sad, terrible, true story, and it had a good message as well. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. It won Best Picture at the Dances with Films Film Festival in Los Angeles, and it also won Best Picture at the Byron Bay International Film Festival in Byron Bay, Australia. So I'm giving One Less God 4 out of 5 pies. I urge you all to go watch it if you can. I'm going to put a link in the description below of the available screenings and how to get tickets. We need to support good independent cinema so we can keep getting great films like this. So now we've come to the end of my review, but wait, there's more. Keep watching to see my interview with Kabir Singh. What's up everyone, welcome back to Slice of Pie. I'm here with my good old friend Kabir Singh, the star of One Less God, and today we're just going to be going through some questions.
And promoting Pure Blonde.
Yeah, because that's what we do now.
Yeah, because sponsorship is where the money's at.
True.
Anyway, Abby, what's up? How you going?
Great. How long are you in Australia for?
I'm in Australia for another 1 week, so I made sure I found some time for my good friend Abby Pie, and here I am.
Yeah, I'm very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've been here for about 2 to 3 weeks since you finished shooting your next project. You want to talk about that?
So yeah, I just finished a film in Brisbane called Ayay, South Indian title. Strange enough, I was never fond of the title myself, but it grew on me. You met the director.
I did.
He's a very interesting chap, first-time director. Yeah, the film's called Ayay, A Wrathful Soul, a horror thriller. The story leads where he's an Indian student dealing with adversity, as many Indian students deal with adversity.
That is true, yes.
In Australia itself. And he ends up getting a job in a cemetery.
That's creepy.
Yeah, creepy as it is,
yeah.
And it's a brilliant storyline. And you know, when he gets a job in the cemetery, that's when things start to go kind of wrong, and the story kind of unfolds. And you have to see it to kind of see where it takes you.
I'm guessing evil spirits are involved.
Evil spirits
Yeah.
are definitely involved. It is a horror film, so it wouldn't be anything less than an evil spirit being involved. Yeah.
All right. Getting on to method acting. So what did that entail for this horror role that you're in?
So I mean, One Less God was really an emotional journey for me. It was a complete separate journey. It was really a physical character for me. For me, I had to lose 15 kilos.
Wow.
For the role. I had to really go deep into, really go on a strict diet, living on, roughly about 10 coffees a day and a can of tuna. So through that, I had to get to this really gaunt phase where it was just ribs and, bones and rib cages, and it was just very, very, very difficult to, be in that state, not have any food, and then shoot for 15 hours a day. So it was a very physical journey for me, and yeah, it was quite tough. Okay,
so we just touched on a few things just then. We touched on One Less God, the movie which I just reviewed and we're actually going to be talking about in a second.
Yep.
We also touched on your method acting. So we're going to combine those two in a second. But with the One Less God, I noticed that you started in the story about 4 days into the siege. And
correct.
I remember you telling me that you didn't sleep for the first 3 days to make it more realistic.
Sorry to cut you off. The first scene we shot was, 4 days into the siege. And it was the longest scene of the film. It was Abby's father's just sneezing in the background like crazy. Anyway, it's all right. That's something we do as actors. We look into a camera and emote. So yeah, just waiting for him to stop. We'll just take a moment of silence here.
Let's continue.
So the first scene I shot was 4 days into the siege, and it was something, as a character to play a terrorist. You can't really begin to imagine how do you approach something that you can't relate to as a person, as a human being, as we are normal people living our everyday lives. How do you relate to somebody who killed somebody?
Yeah.
How do you do it? How do you relate to somebody who's a mass murderer, who's just killed a lot of people in an attack that was completely planned? They were trained for it. They knew what they were doing. It's not like it was like a psychotic episode.
Yeah, it was premeditated.
It was premeditated. Yeah. They knew what the hell they were doing, and they knew what they were getting into. So all those aspects played into it, and to go into a mind of a terrorist, it was very difficult. So for me, it was very much an emotional approach to it, not a physical one like I. Being an Indian, right? Being present to watch the event of the Mumbai terror attacks, being glued to the screens when it was happening, and then 5 years later, getting a script to play that one person that you absolutely hated, those people that you absolutely hated, and playing that person on screen. It was like, whoa, how do I do this? I already have built an extreme judgment in my mind that those were bad people. Yeah. How do I bring a human approach to it? So it is that impartial view that you must bring as an actor. And what James Dean said, as an actor, you must experience life and what life throws at you. And if life doesn't throw anything at you, you must go out and search for those experiences that, you know, that will make you understand life better. He also said, you know, that's why I love James Dean, you know, because he was, you know, he said that I want to learn how to become a man, a better human before I learn how to become an actor. So yeah, so my story kind of began when I went to Strasbourg, came back, didn't really know how to get into acting, and then little by little started doing short films, and then got into it, you know, started getting roles here and there, and now here I am, sitting on the couch with you.
That's awesome. The way you just described that, I've got an image in my head. I'm not sure if you could relate to it, but what you were saying about James Dean, about going out and experiencing life and finding yourself, right? The way I'm kind of imagining it is basically you have these latent parts of you that are locked and hidden away, and then when you experience certain things, it unlocks them. That's kind of how it sits in my head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, it's not really about unlocking. I mean, yeah, kind of
like in the metaphorical sense.
I guess it is, because it's in all of us.
Exactly.
It's in all of us.
It's all latent in us. We just have to find how to express it.
Correct. It's in all of us, and it's about you going out and not really putting boundaries on yourself. You know, I went into it. The first scene I shot, I knew that the first thing we're going to shoot is, you know, 3 days into the siege. So I remember just getting a small sort of room in the city where I was away from my family and away from sort of all the people that I loved, and I had to sort of seclude myself. And I secluded myself, I stayed in a hotel room, I locked myself out, I had enough food to sort of deal with it, deal with my seclusion. And I rocked up on set without, you know, 3 days of sleep.
Yeah.
And the director knew it. And I remember the first day I got on set, and there was the biggest scene in the film for the character, for Yassine. It was a 3-page long dialogue. And obviously I had done all the preparation that needed to be done, you know. I had shaved my head off. I had studied the Quran as much as I could. I went to the mosque. I spoke to a lot of Muslim friends. I had grown a beard, but right before the film I shaved it off, because the terrorists, they had beards and everything, but they shaved it off just to look normal.
Yeah, fit in.
Second step was I decided to enroll myself to go to Thailand. I found this martial arts.
This is when you did the kickboxing?
When I did Muay Thai and MMA, because I'd researched, I read this book called The Siege, and I read that the terrorists had gone on these training camps. And obviously someone like me, being a method actor, I would have loved to, like, you know, go and do an army camp or something like that, but that's very difficult. You know, the resources you have is not possible. So the closest thing possible for me was to do an MMA training camp. Someone as weak as me going into a training camp who's never had any experience, and, you know, being in the middle of all these fighters, all these people who have been training for years, getting in the ring, you know, experiencing what it feels like to be in the middle of, you know, where your senses are awakened. So I did this training camp. I got to a point where I had experienced something close to maybe what the terrorists may have experienced in a training camp. There was a physical thing, but there was really the thing that I really needed was an emotional transformation.
I'm not just saying this because you're like one of my best friends. Like, there might be an element of bias in this, but you completely blew me away in your role. I did not recognize you, and that's saying something. Like, you were, and the way you pulled off this character he had a certain naivety to him. He had this innocence, and you could see that these people, they grow up like indoctrinated and conditioned and brainwashed. They don't know any better.
Correct.
And so you must have done a lot of research on that as well, because I could see that you resonated that quite well.
Yeah, see, the director never wanted to antagonize the terrorists. You know, the thing is, he knows they're terrorists. People know already what they've done. But it was more about presenting a human approach, a human story. Because nobody ever humanizes the villains. It's always the villain is the villain, you know, he's the bad guy, he will kill, and then he will die, and then everybody will be happy because the villain is dead. Everybody knows how the story is gonna end. Yeah. Because it's a true story, it's already happened. You know, he found himself looking at a television screen and he was in awe, going, "Oh my God!" Like a television was something incredible for him.
Yeah.
Now imagine him coming into the Taj Hotel, and you know that scene where he's in the bathroom and he's looking at this infinity mirror and these taps, and he's talking to the handler, going, "Oh my God, there's like 10 bathrooms here.
Yeah.
There's 20 taps, and I'm going crazy."
Yeah.
You know, it's actually that happened. Those are real conversations.
Yeah.
So the point of the character was, and what the director wanted to take away from the story was, what can we do before these kids get picked up? Can we educate them to let them know that this is not the right way?
Throw them a lifeline, show them another way.
Show them another way, and the point of the whole thing is to just, you know, educate.
You had a very nuanced and layered performance. We just went into how you brought out that human aspect, the childlike innocence, the awe, and like what we consider to be the mundane in this first world country we live in. But then at the same time, you also showed this cold-heartedness, which was in complete contrast to what you just previously showed.
Well, that was a reality of what happened. The point is, as I said, people know what they've done. They've killed hundreds of people, and they are cold-hearted, and they are cold-blooded murderers. But just to give them a glimpse is what my character tried to, I guess, tried to do.
And I think you pulled it off.
Thank you.
So, One Less God. Everyone, make sure you go watch it while you can. It's a very limited release because it's an indie film, but it does portray real cinema with real substance, which is sorely lacking these days.
Correct.
So, Kabir, can you tell them what dates to go?
So, unfortunately, the film has had a limited release. It is a very low-budget indie film, but you know, it's a film that's being compared with, you know, a lot of really high-budget films. So it's good to be, you know, the director. It's an Australian director. It's an Australian film, an Australian cast. We have such a diverse cast in the film, and they're all Australian. So it's a big thing to sort of live up to. But the dates that are coming up in Dendy's from the 19th of November till the 22nd of November. It's playing for 4 days in Dendy's Circular Quay near the Opera House.
Go watch it.
And I would just suggest that you all go watch it. I mean, Abby himself was moved by the film. You know, my entire family went to watch it, and they all love the film, and they've given me their honest opinions. It's a film that'll give you a surreal experience. You'll feel like you're actually in the hotel yourself, that you're trapped there. And you know, the amount of reactions I've seen from people walking out of the cinemas while I'm there for the Q&As, waiting for the Q&A, and people walking out of the cinemas towards the end of the film. It's crazy, you know. People would walk out and go, "Oh my God, why did that happen?" And they're crying and they're having anxiety attacks, and it's just like, wow, this is actually having a really adverse reaction.
It gave them a paradigm shift.
It's an incredible response, and I really appreciate people coming to watch this and getting an experience that they didn't feel like they were going to get.
Alright, Kabir, tell us more about you, the backstory of the Kabir Singh.
The backstory
Yes.
The Kabir Singh.
The
Wow.
Kabir Singh.
Yeah. Tell you a little bit about myself, okay? You know my history, man. Like
I do. They don't.
I came to Australia when I was 10 years old. I was always into drama. Even when I went to DPS in Delhi, my mum was a teacher. She always put me in drama and like plays and shit. So I was always into that. Went to Lee Strasberg Theatre and Film Institute in New York. Studied acting there. Studied with some of the best people in the world, the best teachers in the world. Learned a lot about acting. Learned a lot about myself mostly, and who I am and what I can achieve as a human being. And you know, it took me a lot of arguments, a lot of fights with my parents to convince them that I've got to quit university. I was studying at Macquarie University, studying business and law. Studying business and law, and it was like, man, Mum and Dad, I have to quit this. I want to go to Lee Strasberg. I want to go study acting. And they're like, what do you mean? Acting? There's nothing in acting. You can do this and then do acting on the side. And I'm like, mate, it's either plan A, which is, you know, becoming a successful actor, filmmaker, whatever it is, but just being in that journey. There's no plan B. There's plan A and plan A only. You know, I am not thinking about, oh, if I fail, I'm going to be doing this. No, there is no failing. There is this only. Failure is not an option. If I fail, then I will, you know, I'm smart enough to do 100 other things, but I'm not going to fail because I believe in myself that much. So I say, believe in yourself.
Wise words.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Do it. Rebel. be a rebel without a cause.
Nice James Dean throwback.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe the Pie channel.
Slice of Pie.
The Slice of Pie channel.
Yeah.
And don't buy Pure Blondes, buy a ticket to my film. Thank you.
Thanks.
I am Kabir Singh, that's my website. I am Kabir Singh, that's my Instagram. I am Kabir Singh, that's my Facebook page. And I want to tell you a little bit about my production company, if you can just plug that in, mate.
Oh yeah,
because like Slice of Pie, I have a production company called Red String Films. If you have any you know, needs to make a music video, documentaries, corporate films, I am the man who... I am Morgan Freeman of Shawshank Redemption. That's all I need to say.
Yeah.
Red String Films. Now...
That has philosophical
now, yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I was waiting for you to ask me that. If you didn't ask me that, I would have plugged it in anyway.
Yeah.
Red String Films. Now, let's talk about Red String Films.